Hey guys, we're here at Ageless Spa today with Dr. Stilla in an effort to bring you more content, more solutions, more resources. I just wanted to come over here and have a conversation about the things that they do that's different than what we can offer at Journey. So maybe just a little talk about how you got started. I love what you're doing.
Well, thanks, Travis. And, as a pretty new Journey member, I just have to say we're having a wonderful time and looking forward to a long and continued partnership. Not so much looking forward to push-ups and burpees, but I'll do it.
It's the results that we like, right?
That's the results. When I started in practice for many years, I made the excuse that I don't have time to deal with wellness issues because I barely have time to deal with illness issues. Mm-hmm. And after a while, you realize that that's kind of a cop-out. So 12 or 15 years ago, I took a look at the way I was doing things and said, what's the biggest problem we're facing in America? And it was overweight. So focused on that, went back and learned as much as I could about bariatric medicine, started a program which has been phenomenally successful and extremely busy, and that's really where I got the start. And we left out the exercise part. Now, our first year here in the mall, we had the center area. We still refer to it as the gym. We had a circuit set up. Whenever you go to conferences about spas, they will tell you, do not mix spas and exercise. And unfortunately, I think they were right, because we had very few takers. What I find now is that with certain folks, when we start them in the bariatric program, we can get them to take off immediately with exercise. Other times it takes a little bit of coaxing, but it just didn't work right having it here. What I think is working right, and we've experienced this over the last couple of years with your group, is getting them hooked with Journey.
Thank you so much. So what is typically the first step when people come in, they're struggling with their weight? What is typically the first step that happens at Ageless?
Well, the first step in our program is why are you here and how is it affecting you? And then what can we come up with a plan that will work for you, but also a plan that you'll do. Mm-hmm. And our program is based on three major tenets. Number one is that you need to know what you're eating and you need to balance it. We found that the keto plan, while it certainly works the best, is sometimes a little daunting for folks, and we segue them into that by putting them on what used to be referred to as the zone diet, and it's a mixture of 33% carbs, 33% protein, the same amount of fat, and have them learn that and have them learn to manage the numbers. Everybody knows the number on that bathroom scale in the morning, and they want to fixate and focus on that number. There's other numbers that are more important to fixate on. So number one is how to balance the diet appropriately, and the second thing would be, how many calories do you need? And that brings us into what we do with metabolic testing. We use a device that you can see here. It's called a calorimeter.
I love this thing.
This is made by a company called Core. And the test is done sitting on a chair, breathing through a machine that picks up how much carbon dioxide you excrete through your lungs over a 10-minute period. And then mathematically, you can break down that if that's 10 minutes worth, what's a day's worth? Mm-hmm. And based on your age, your height, your sex, your weight, you can use an algorithm to determine how much extra would you burn just being up and around. And then thirdly, you can also predict, using that same or similar algorithm, what would 30 minutes of brisk walking do in terms of calorie burn. When faced with that number and seeing how many calories you're actually burning during the day, we can be better at recommending calorie intake. And in many cases, if you wanted to do it in a quick and dirty fashion, it's 10 times your desired body weight in pounds. So you want to weigh 150, 1,500 calories. That's the quick and dirty way. We can be a little bit more scientific about it. And the third part is appetite control. If you can't control your appetite, we can. More times than not, it requires changing the medicines you're on, many of which give you an increased appetite. Medicines for depression, medicines for sleep, medicines to help relax, all tremendous appetite stimulants. Alcohol, big appetite stimulant. And we can use appetite suppressants as well when necessary, particularly when we can couple it with metabolic, with known facts about metabolism, things that help blood sugar, etc.
You said so many good things right there. Like I love the different opportunities. Like, I'm a keto guy. I love keto. My wife makes great keto recipes, but the only diet that works is the diet that you'll stick to. So I love the way that you meet people where they're at. And I love what you're saying, too. You're focusing on this number on the scale. But what about the other numbers? What about the process numbers? Like, there's a process goal that we should achieve, and then that will make that number change. Now, you mentioned the zone diet. You mentioned the keto diet. One day, you and I were having a conversation. There's a lot of our Journey members that are interested in fasting now. We teach them about paleo and keto, and we try to meet them where they're at. When people are interested in fasting, there's an approach that you use, isn't there?
There is, and we use an approach that came from a book written by Dr. Michael Mosley called The Fast Diet, and it's a 5 and 2 program. So 5 days of the week you eat your normal calorie amount, which again, approximately 10 times whatever your desired body weight is. 2 days a week, it's 500 or 600 calories for women or men. And the nice thing about the way he has that presented in the book, and of course he talks about the science behind it, but he breaks it down so that a 500 or 600 calorie day does not look that daunting. You actually realize there's more food than you thought. You don't pick up much of it through a drive-through window, but there's a lot more food than you realized.
Yeah, just find those. Take the new recipe every week. Find out that there is another way, because I like to think that if a lot of people will go on a diet and they're like, I can't wait to get back to eating the way that I used to eat. But I'm like, whoa, don't do that, because if you eat the way you used to eat, then you'll gain the weight that you gained before. So it's good to find other resources and other ways. And you know, now that you've mentioned that General Pop formula, I love the fact that you have a much more scientific way to look at things. This is so cool. Most people don't even realize that the way that we burn fat is breathing out carbon dioxide. A lot of times you think it comes out in waste or comes out in sweat, but this is true. This is a true indicator of your metabolism. So from this, if people still continue to have problems, then you look at things like blood work, which is another thing that we can't do a Journey. We don't look at blood work. So how does that play in?
Well, the way it plays in is that for years and years, physicians have told patients that your thyroid function is measured by TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. The history of that is kind of interesting. The doctor that developed it back in the 1960s developed it expressly to diagnose hypothyroidism and to no longer follow the function of the thyroid afterwards. But physicians still use that as the be-all and end-all of, is your thyroid okay? We look at a much more comprehensive evaluation of the thyroid. We actually ultrasound it to see if it's a gland that's been inflamed or infected or partially destroyed. Mm-hmm. You can look at your wrist, and if your wrist is swollen and painful, you know you can't do certain things with it. You can't see your thyroid. But when we look at it, we can say, that's a thyroid gland that's not going to be functional, especially under load. That is, when you try to exercise or when you challenge yourself metabolically with your diet. We look at the blood sugar, and in particular, we look at the insulin level compared to the blood sugar. There's a mathematical formula index called the Quick Eye Index, and it will tell if you are pre-diabetic. Because if you are, you have to be very, very careful about the carbohydrates. That's where we really would want to push that person toward a keto plan. We can look also at vitamin D levels, which is the most important hormone for women for weight loss. And we can look at testosterone levels in men, similarly, most important for weight loss and for weight maintenance. If necessary, we can adjust those various components, and that can make all the success in the world.
I love it. The human body is just so amazing, and there's not a one-size-fits-all. Like we just said earlier, the only diet that works is the one you'll stick to. And then beyond that, what's going on with my blood work? What's going on with my thyroid? Where are my testosterone levels at? Because it's going to be different than somebody else's. And then you can truly get a customized plan. Really amazing stuff.